Feeling, man. Let me
That's
turn off my binaural beats. You know what I mean?
okay, okay. My brother, I guess the first question I have is, what's the reception that you've been getting since the battle? Since the
It's
pay per view.
been it's been crazy, man. A lot of people calling it throwing the C word around. You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly.
How you feel though? Is that warranted in your opinion? You're the battle rapper. You're the one standing in front of Nitty. You're the one feeling it. You know what I mean?
I think so. I think it is for the reason that we both went in and did what we were supposed to do, you know what I mean? And like
Okay.
deliver for the people who are fans of us. And I think surprised, it's like a bipartisan battle. Like I think no matter who you're a fan of going in, I think you can appreciate what the battle was, you know?
Mac, let me ask you a question. What can you define to people, especially to the new fans, and even old fans who might get this twisted? What is a classic in your opinion as a battle rapper? When you're standing in front of someone. When do you start feeling like, yo, we have something here? We're teetering on a heavy replay value battle, number one, right? And we're teetering on the C word.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is replay value. Can I watch this multiple times and appreciate different aspects of it?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the same thing with like an album or a song or whatever. Like, is it a classic? Can I go back a year from now, 6 months from now, 2 years from now, and maybe whether it's catching something I didn't catch or relating to something or seeing a different aspect of it that maybe I didn't even appreciate fully on the last
Okay.
on the last watch or listen or what have you. And I think that's like probably the biggest component. And then as far specifically with me and Nitty, it's are these good performances like from these two people, with different styles, and how does that intermingle? How does that work? Because sometimes it's like trying to fit a square in a circle, like it just doesn't work.
Right.
Even if they're like doing pretty well, there's just something that doesn't match up. But I felt like we were matching each other's energy in there.
Let me ask you a question because I remember when Nitty was battling Iron Solomon, right? And the culture was kind of down going into the battle, not after the battle, going into the battle. They're like, "What is this? Why is Nitty Iron Solomon? We're not feeling this at all." Then they delivered a fire ass battle. Iron Solomon, can you please come back, brother? God damn! But they delivered a fire battle, right? Do you feel like you and Nitty was like teetering on that with you with Iron Solomon? Or did you feel the culture was receptive to you and Nitty going into the battle?
I can first I can relate to it because the people thought the same thing about me and K. Me versus K.
True, too. Good point.
And I do think that going into it, it was a battle that they were probably more receptive to. Like it had been pretty highly requested. There was a lot of hype, I think, when the announcement first dropped. But I mean that dynamic, it's like, I hate to like quote myself in from the battle, but it's literally like they don't know what they want because they haven't got it.
You said that. You did say
You know
that,
what I
sir.
mean? And
Yes, you
that's
did.
like kind of an example. Like they didn't know they wanted Nitty
Mm-hmm.
Solomon because they hadn't had it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like sometimes, they want one thing until they hate it. Sometimes it's like, I want candy, I want candy. Then you get an
Yes.
upset stomach, you know?
So, do you feel like, all right, you get the Nitty battle, right? And then I guess before the battle, are you feeling like, yo, we're gonna have a dope battle? You know that already in your head?
I think so. Yeah, going into it, I think that Nitty always keeps the bar. He rarely dips below a
Mm-hmm.
certain bar.
Right.
And so going into it, I know that as long as I deliver, like I intend to, then this should be fire. Like this should
Mm-hmm.
be crazy. Like I don't think he's gonna. I'm going into it. I'm not expecting anything but the best Nitty. So I'm preparing. I'm trying to prepare for the best version, and that's like with every opponent. I always try to prepare for the best version and even the better than the best version. When I'm planning, that's like what I'm okay. Set. What's their best performance? I'm going into it thinking they're gonna outdo that. So now how do I prepare for that version?
So how many of your fans are asking you, sir, are we going to see you in 2024? Are you just going to take a year off and then
Yeah, a lot of people been asking. I mean, I'm doing an international battle this month. I'm battling Vega out in Australia on an event called Legacy. Thesaurus is battling Greeley. It'll be big out there. I think it's like a kind of revitalizing the scene out there. I think it'll be really, really dope because there's a lot of, crazy talent out there. But yeah, so I'm battling this month, and then I don't have anything officially locked in, but there's rumblings, there's rumblings of perhaps more.
Before we go to the rumblings, let me ask you, have you been overseas before? Have you battled?
Oh yeah. I had a run in the like 2010s where when I was doing like 13, 14 battles a year, some of them were like back-to-back weeks. So I had like 3 battles in a week in Australia. It was like,
so you've been there before.
Back to back. Yeah, I've been to Australia. Right. I battled 3 people like within the time span of a week. And then I was doing tons of like battles in the UK too. So I've done a bunch of battles like back-to-back out there. I did like 2 in a night at one event, and that was like early 2010s. I was kind of on my international ill run.
Mac, what's the vibe out there though, brother? What's the vibe out there?
Amazing. It's always, it's always amazing reception because it's like the people we watch international and our guys clashing with the international. Like I haven't honestly ran into a lot of bias even. There was against one of the Aussies who was just super popping at the time, like as an artist on some rap shit. This full Cursor, he's big out there still. There was definitely a Cursor audience. You know what I mean? It was like 10-year-olds, 13-year-olds, 15-year-olds in the final. It's hilarious.
Whole village.
Yeah. But for the most part, the international audiences are super receptive because they're excited to be seeing, people that they've been watching and to like have that US talent and international talent in their house. You know what I mean? It's like they're like good hosts, essentially.
Wow.
I mean, Manchester on Premier Battles, when I battled Soul, that's one of my favorite live energy battle experiences I've ever had. That's like the rawest crowd I've probably still like was in Manchester when I battled Soul. That shit was insane.
Are there more? Do you feel like they're more loyal to battle rap, the fans wise, more loyal, more receptive to you guys compared to us here in U.S. soil?
Oh, they're definitely a million times more receptive to us than the U.S. is to any international talent. You had an accent and like the crowd is just like lost all of a sudden. Right. You know what I mean? So I'm thankful for that.
Oh man. So the pick of you and Nitty after the battle, man, I don't know, that's just battle rap to me. When you have a dope battle like that, and to watch you and Nitty sit down and y'all grubbing, we can't hear the conversation, obviously, but just to see that visual of y'all brothers just talking and chopping it up after a fucking fire battle, can you give us a little? I mean, I'm being nosy here, Mac, my bad. But what was the conversation like, though?
I don't remember the specific conversation. I think we were just cracking jokes on some hypothetical, but yeah, we went out. Like a bunch of us like went out and went to a couple different spots, and we're end up at like a hookah spot after hours. And then Real Sick was talking about how he writes all his battles in the hookah spot and teaching me how you got to get the mint flavor because it lasts the longest.
That's my guy. Real Sick.
No, that's my bro, man.
That's my guy.
But we're all kind of mobbing as a big crew to different spots after the battle, and then we ended up obviously back at the telly, and that was like after 6 a.m. when they had started serving food again. So it's like, all right. And so I'm like eating a waffle and we're just like, clowning, man. She was an experience. It was a super fun night.
Mac, what is it to you're preparing for Nitty, right? Does your mind as a battle rapper have to be like, okay, I have to hate this man until we battle at Blackout 8, and afterwards Everybody's chill, comfy, we dapping each other up. Like shit.
A little bit. Like there's still like I'm a fan and this feels raw, but it's like I'm in the mode of seeing all the points of weakness. It's like I have to focus on where I can, and so there is that energy in a way of like, man, like every Rum Nitty quote I see on Twitter, I'm like, that's weak. Just because I'm in my hater bag. But yeah, once the battle happens, it's like, all right, fuck, that's over with. Now I can get back to, being a fan.
Is this one of your best character breakdowns in your resume? I mean, you do it all the time, but this is a little different though, brother. Like, to the point people thought you were kind of ODing on the character breakdown a little bit. Do you feel that way, or how do you feel? That is some dope writing you did, man. Both of y'all, to be honest.
Yeah, thank you.
I had you in the battle 2-1. I had you first and third. Yeah.
Oh shit, for real?
Yeah, first and third.
And going in, you had Nitty 2-1.
I had Nitty 2-1. I needed to go in the battle 2-1. I needed 2-1 going to battle.
You're a real one, man.
Yes, I do.
To be able to be like, hey,
yes. I got to recap in the whole 9. I had you 2-1. Yep.
Fire. That's what's up, man. Yeah, I probably. I mean, it's one of my favorite. There were certain parts of my material as a critic. You know what's crazy? I'll give you this inside info. Is going into it, I was dead sure that I was gonna get smoked the first round, and that my first round was my lightest round. And I was like, look, my whole idea of it was I need to plant the seeds in the first round because he's gonna come in the first round and he's just gonna punch my head off. I don't even want to necessarily compete trying to punch with you that round. Right. But what I want to do is make sure that your punches just aren't quite hitting quite as much over the course of the next 2 rounds, and I'm only gonna write up. In the second round, I'm gonna punch. Now I'm gonna start punching. You know what I'm saying? With all the alien shit. And I'm going to put a little ILLmac twist at the end with the like alien language, light years, observer effect shit. And
even with dirt on me, the alien can't see me. Come on.
But like that. So going in, I was like, my third or my first is my lightest, and in the moment.
What's your lightest?
Huh?
What's your lightest round?
Going into it in my mind, I was sure that my first was my lightest.
Okay, all right.
And I was like, oh, I'm basically giving that up for the sake of poking a couple holes in the armor that'll prove valuable over the course of the next 2 rounds. You know what I mean? Right. But there's certain things in that first that I wanted to always do better, but I didn't quite get back to like giving the payoffs, you know what I mean, in certain things. But I'm like, regardless, I have to say these things to set up my next 2 rounds, So, I mean, the question being if it's my, best character breakdown, it could be, but I'm always, as an artist, looking like, I always wanted to make this part, give it more of a punch and payoff. But, there's damn near always that with every performance.
How much did you enjoy Rum Nitty's headstone bar?
Fire. I thought of so many different rebuttals that were so light, like, like something killed you 4 presidents, or like a Crazy Horse monument reference, or like, Mount Rushmore's on sacred land. There was just nothing that I'm like, this isn't gonna hit. I just got to give it to him. And I was trying the whole time. I was like, yeah, okay, you got that one. That was fire.
Is your third round your favorite round? Your favorite round?
That was my favorite round. Watching a piece of it back, there's certain parts that were supposed to be a little bit more, flow driven than they came out, because of crowd reactions and whatever else. But that's my favorite round. It's my favorite writing, and it's my favorite. It's my favorite version of what I've done as far as saying exactly what I want to say in the way I want to say it.
This man said, see, my losses are public domain. They gave me new strengths. So it's tools to me. The app gave you impunity. That support base is basically an escape from the scrutiny behind that paywall, safe in your little gated community. That shit is crazy.
Yo, that's one of my favorite things, because I wanted to make the point, like, I got some embarrassing performances out there, but they're out there. You know what I mean? And you know what's funny? In that moment, you see Nitty actually leans into me when I say in your little gated community, you see him lean into me, but you can't hear what he says. And what he says is, I'm undefeated on the app. And that's what makes me go, because then I start talking. And that's when I'm like, what I say, I was like, yeah, you're safe there, but you ain't there right now. Like, and so it was, that's what spawned that, was him being like, I'm undefeated on there.
Wow. Now you said I was a fact in the circuit before the circuit had a circuit. I just thought, you listen, both of you guys, did you rap longer than Nitty? Do you feel you had longer rounds?
Yeah, I felt like his rounds were short for the most part.
Because let's be clear, the average time limit for King of the Dot is what, 2:30, right?
Yeah, well, we're supposed to be basically like 3:30.
3:30, okay, part of stuff. Okay.
Yeah, my my round might have been a little bit longer, you know. Like my first two were like 4-ish, you know what I mean? Like my first two weren't OD. The third one might have been a little OD, but actually it didn't come out like that. I felt like I kind of, when he brought up the time limits before the battle, I was like, all right, I'm not gonna like run back a lot of lines. Like I want to get through this, and I'm not gonna like make him relive these lines if they hit, because I don't want to instigate him to be like, hey, what's the time, man? You know what I mean? Because especially on my third, I knew my third was a little long, but I did feel like, especially his first round was short, like under 3.
Yeah, I gave you the first round. I had you get the first round. Listen, his rounds are good.
Yeah.
What can I do if you have rounds that's dope also, and you're getting more off, and your shit is a little bit, you're first and third. And I love the fact when he started talking to the battlers in the third round with it's the battlers' fault. We ain't pushing standards off enough padding stats and losses. We can't acknowledge echo chamber popularity contest. Rappers got that. You was wilding. I'm sitting there like, yo, Mac is fucking dumping right now. Yo.
Yeah, that's that whole thing is my favorite shit, man. Like, yo, I'm gonna give you a crazy story. And
all right,
excuse if this gets long-winded.
No, you good, man. You family, you good, brother. Good.
So look, I was reading this book. It's it's Robert Greene, 50 Laws of Power, but this is 33 Strategies of War by the same author. And I'm not super like, oh, the art I've lived by, the 48 laws of power, but it's interesting reads. I like the way he structures it, because he gives a principle and then gives historical examples of it. But this book specifically, I've revisited like before the Solomon battle. I revisited it a couple other battles, because it just, sometimes I get locked into a way of thinking of, like, I get married to my approach. Like, okay, this is my strategy for this battle. And now I'm locked into like only seeing the information. But I read a chapter in here that is actually about Queen Elizabeth I. The whole idea of it is like, be efficient in your attacks, and like, don't be efficient in your attacks, play to your strengths, and don't basically meet, the enemy on their terms. And it's all about how like she was, undermining Spain with pirates and all this stuff, etc., etc. But I was kind of writer's blocked at that moment. I read that chapter. I actually was talking with Real Sick, because I hadn't written hardly anything, and I read the chapter. I was like, bro, I just read this chapter. I want to read. And Nino, we're on it, and I was like, I want to read this, and I read this like excerpt from it. He's like, wow, and it reminded me, like, play to my strengths and do the most efficient thing that I'm best at, and don't be so caught up in going punch for punch with Nitty. He's the best at that. And that night, after I wrote that chapter, I wrote the whole shadow boxing rhyme scheme, that like what you were just quoting, the whole can't be honest popularity, because I like how I looked at it. I was like, I want to just write my thoughts. The rhymes will come, but what am I really trying to say here? And that whole part was actually gonna be in my first round, but I was like, this is too much. This needs to be my conclusion. So that being said, that's how I wrote the bulk of my third round. Right, it was inspired by one chapter, and I wrote it almost all in one sitting. Right. Fast forward, we're at the event, and there's a couple tie-ins here. We're like day one or whatever, right? I'm outside with Gannick, And I make a joke. I was like, yo, take 500 off my guarantee and I win the coin toss, you know what I mean? And he's like, oh, bro, I got you. And he flips it in the air and he's like, heads. And just like as a joke, right? And fast forward, the day of the battle, I know that this will all tie in. The day of the battle, I'm in my hotel room. I'm just running through my rounds. I put on the History Channel. And I'm just like, all right, I'm kind of in that mode of like, is this gonna hit? Don't matter. Just practice, just get in your vibe. And on the History Channel, the thing that's on while I'm practicing my third, when I tune in, it's all about Queen Elizabeth I and El Dorado and basically beefing with the Spanish. But the whole shit that was the inspiration behind my third. And I was like, that's crazy. I keep practicing. The next program is about all different. It's called like Dark Marvels, but it like a whole segment is like about Japanese blades and all this shit. And I got the Hanzo shit, right? And I'm like, this is crazy. Whatever. That's a son. The very next thing is all about it was like reconciliation week with the like First Nations and the indigenous tribes in Canada. And it was all about that. And I'm like, bro, why is everything relating to my material? All three of these programs in a row. And I just sat there and I thought, and I was like, this is like me tuned in right now. This is like kind of, so I thought about the joke that Gannick made. And I was like, something's telling me it's for sure going to be heads. I'm like, I have to make sure I call it. And I said it right there. And then right then and there, I was like, I looked up, is LA closer to Canada or Phoenix? And Phoenix is closer by 400 miles or something. Be clear, I've lived in LA for almost like 8 years. You know what I mean? That's where I flew from. So I was like, oh, I'll get to call it. Cool. So then we're in the battle and he's like, Nitty, you came from further away. I was like, nah. I looked it up. I was like, I'm further, blah, blah. And I called it and it was heads. And it was like all these things were telling me you need to take control here. And I think it's the way the battle worked out. I needed to go second. You know what I'm saying? So I know that's a long-winded story, but there was just so many things that were tying together where I was like, I felt tuned in the moment, you know?
Wow, that's a dope story, son. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was pretty insane, man.
That's crazy.
It was pretty insane.
What are you thinking when Organic is asking what's the first battle he should put out?
I'm like, you know what battle you should put out.
To be fair, you and Nitty, Real Sick, and A-Ward, and Jay the Night.
Jay and Matt, insane.
Was fire battle. Like, still, the dope battles, but those three battles to me stood out.
Yeah. I'm actually pretty sure, spoiler alert, that me and Nitty is gonna be the first battle to drop. And I think I'm pushing for it. I'm like on the line, like drop that shit Monday, drop that shit next week. Like, let's get it out. You know what I mean? But if you want to watch it right now, go to kotd.tv.
Yes, you can. Yes. Danny Myers, Blue Room. I saw you in ARP after the battle. I saw that back and forth and everything like that. Is that something that you want to do with 2024 the same? Is that something?
I would love to. I would love to battle Danny in the Blue Room. I think that would just be a fire battle. You know what I mean? So we all got to just peer pressure ARP to make that happen.
Absolutely. Has URL called you yet?
Not since the battle, but like I've talked with them as recently as like maybe a month ago, and they were trying to line something up for this month. I just had the Nitty thing hadn't been announced, and I had this Australia trip on it. I was like, I can't do anything October, but not since.
You're not gonna let them do it with it to the Saurus, are you?
Nah, man.
That was crazy. URL, come on, man. I didn't understand that one round bullshit. Come on, man.
Look, at some point I would love to grace that stage and that platform, but I'm also not going to do it under any circumstances that don't, provide the best opportunity to capitalize and to have, a classic, or to at least give the opportunity for me and my opponent to really put on in that way. Like, it's got to be a fire matchup. It's got to be in the right, circumstances. Otherwise, I don't want to go over there and like.
Who's on the card also, right? Who's on the card?
Yeah. Who's on the card? You
Mhm.
know, and my opponent stylistically, like me and Danny could be fired on, you know, in a small room there too. Like
Yes, facts.
either way, like I want to make that matchup happen. But yeah, if I go on URL, it'll be under the right circumstances or not at all.
Okay. My brother, I appreciate you as always, man. You came. This man just came and dropped a fire battle on our heads, man. I can't wait when they drop this battle. I hope next week we should be getting. Oh, you know what I'm saying? Get it. Come
Yeah.
on. You know what I mean?
Put the clip out where I said that, like ILLmac says Run Nitty verse ILLmac dropping Monday. You know, we got to do like what the Hollywood actors be doing on the late night shows, just talking their way into roles, you know.
Right. Mac, I appreciate you, King.
All right, thank you, man. I'm a peep that recap too.
My brother, peace and love.